And I bear witness and testify that there is no God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is his final prophet and messenger, a mercy to the worlds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his holy book in Surat Al Hadid, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to you and me one of the best definitions of this life that we are living. He says, اعلموا, which means know. In this context, it means know for sure. Know with full certainty. Know without any doubt that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is about to say is true and accurate always and forever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا, know that the life of this world, لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم. Know that the life of this world, remember we said know with certainty, with absolute trust, that what you are about to hear is true 100% of the time. Not sometimes, 100% of the time. Know that the life of this world is nothing but amusement and diversion and mutual boasting between each other, bragging between yourselves, and competition between you to increase your wealth and to increase the number of children that you have. Wallahi, if you ask yourself, if you just think about this, the beginning of this verse, is there a better definition to this life? Because we know that this life is temporary. Everyone here is going to die. Everyone who is not here is also going to die. So we know that this life is temporary. If you have a good run, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you long life, how long will you live for? 80 years? 90 years? 100 years? 110? Whatever it is. The akhirah, how long is it? 100 years? 200 years? 500 years? 1,000 years? 10,000 years? 1 million years? 1 billion years? 1 trillion years, and even more than that. So your 100 years, if you have a good run, your 100 years in this dunya is not even a drop in the ocean compared to the time that you will spend in the akhirah. Your eternal home is the akhirah. Your destination is the akhirah. Your time here is like the time you spent at a bus stop. It's like the time you spent at a train station. That is all. And what are we doing with the time that we have in this dunya? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لاعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. Know with certainty, 100% of the time, that the time that you are spending here in this dunya is just amusement and diversion and play. And mutual boasting between each other. Have you seen this? If you've ever been to a Middle Eastern barbecue, you have seen this. I have 1 car, I have 2 cars. I have Mercedes, I have BMW. I have 2 children, I have 3 children. My children are in university. My children are studying medicine. My children have graduated. Me, and my, and this. We have just gone on holiday to Queensland. We just went on holiday to Bali. We just went to Hajj. This mutual competition, the need to outdo each other. I'm better than you. We don't say it quite so direct, but that's what we're saying. Someone says me, and we say, no, me. The other person says, but me. And we say, no, but me. This is really exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. تَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ. And we have become very talented at hiding the way we brag about ourselves. Because we don't want to be obviously bragging about ourselves. That will be embarrassing. We want to hide it. We want to be sneaky about it. Sometimes we complain, but really we're bragging. Subhanallah, I'm building my third property. It's such a headache, wallah. It's such a hassle. Dealing with these tradies is just impossible. How hard is it to build a house? Yeah? You're not really complaining about the tradies. You're really stating that you're building your third house. Your real intention is to brag about house number 3. And then the other person says, I'm building house number 4. Mine's a duplex. Mine's a double star. I have a boat. I have a plane. I have a spaceship. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us and guide us. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. And we want to hoard up money and children. As much money and as much children as you can have, the better and the happier that you will be. Aha. This is not my description of the life. This is Allah's description of the life. So it's accurate and it's true. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now gives us an example, another way to see this dunya in the very same verse that I'm talking about. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ. Like a field. أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. The kuffar are happy with the plants therein. In this verse, kuffar doesn't mean disbeliever. In this verse, kafir actually means farmer. Because the word kafir comes from kafara, comes from someone who makes a hole in the ground and puts a seed in it and then covers that seed. They're covering up the seed with the soil. This is a kafir in the Arabic language. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the kuffar are very happy with this field of crops. But He doesn't mean the disbelievers, He means the farmers. The one who opened up the ground and put the seed in and covered that seed is a kafir. And the kafirs, the farmers, are very happy looking at this field. So you might say, but Brother Ahmed, why do we then say kafir for disbeliever? Simply, the kafir is the one who covers up the truth. Islam is the truth. There is no doubt about that. Someone who conceals, covers the truth is a kafir. It comes from that root of farming. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. The farmer, when he spends all that time and effort preparing the soil and gathering the seeds and getting the fertilizer and planting all the rows and rows of crops, they have done so much work, months of work, just to see the bare ground, empty ground. Then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the rain and the crops start to grow, you have beautiful straight rows of plants, one after the other. And each one of these rows represents what for the farmer? Represents money. When these crops are harvested, that's when the farmer gets paid. So all of these rows and rows and rows and rows, fields of crops, is all the hard work and sweat of the farmer, seeing that his money is about to be cashed in. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. Like a field of beautiful crops in their straight rows, lush and green. And the farmer, after he has sweated for months, he's so happy at the sight of this field full of plants. ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا. Then it dries out and becomes yellow, turns yellow after the sun dries it out. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. And then it becomes like debris, like scattered dust in the wind. This example of the farmer sweating, working, planting for months, and then finally seeing the scene that makes them so happy, this is what we see when we see our Mercedes and our BMW. This is what we see when we see our big house and our duplex and investment property 1 and 2. And holiday to Turkey and holiday to this and that. And my Rolex and my this and that. This is what we see. Exactly like the farmers who look out over the field and say, look, all my hard work and sweat. Wow, what a beautiful sight. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then just like that, it turns yellow. It dries out. And that sight is not pleasing anymore to the farmer, because that's not what he wants to see. So the possessions that you have in this life, whatever they are, will eventually dry out and turn yellow. You won't enjoy the sight of them anymore. You won't be able to brag about them anymore. And then ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا, then they will be scattered like dust. Have you ever seen a plant that's completely dried out? It can't even stand, and then the wind blows it away. There's nothing left but bare earth. This is al-hayat ad-dunya. This is the life of this world. This is the life of this world. Temporary, short, pleasing to the eye for a short time. And then after that it dries and disappears. Your dunya is going to disappear. Your age will go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 to 100. And then sooner or later you will pass. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the best ending. And then you will enter your real life, your final destination. Instead of this temporary short bus stop, you will arrive at your final destination, where you will spend 1 billion, 1 trillion, 10 trillion, an infinite number of years. Your time in this dunya is short. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ, and in the hereafter there is a severe punishment. وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ, and forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His eternal pleasure. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ, and what is this worldly life except the enjoyment of a brief delusion? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, what is this dunya? After this explanation and this example, He says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا, and what is the life of this world? إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ, except the enjoyment of a brief delusion. Now, this is all one verse. Verse number 20, surah number 57. Now, all of that is well and good. But here is the critical question. Here is the critical question that I'm afraid to even ask myself. How much of your time and energy, I'm asking myself as I'm asking you, how much of your time and energy, how much of your attention and affection, how much of your thoughts and hopes and dreams is linked to this life? Wallahi, ask yourselves. Wallahi, we don't have time. Wallahi, we don't have time. Ask yourself. My waking hours, you are awake for how many hours in the day? Out of those hours, by Allah, out of those hours, how many hours are we spending thinking about the akhirah that is eternal? That we are spending thinking about the akhirah that is permanent? That we are going to spend trillions upon trillions of years in that akhirah? How much of the hours and minutes and seconds of the day are we spending thinking about, preparing for, striving for that akhirah? And how much of the hours and the minutes and the seconds of the day are you thinking about your money and your taxes and your house and your car? Wallahi, I'm asking myself more than I'm asking you. You have to ask yourself, how much of your time and attention is going into what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says is a delusion, is amusement, is play, is something that looks good for a short time, like when the farmer looks out over the field for a short time. The harvesting window is short. And soon it dries up and turns yellow and then disappears altogether. How much of our time, brothers and sisters, are we spending on the dunya, thinking about the dunya, planning for the dunya, working for the dunya, stressing for the dunya, and we are leaving nothing in the day for the akhirah? Why do we think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made only one fard that is daily, every single day of your life? One fard, only one out of 5 that is daily. The salah. Why? So 5 times a day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forcing you to stop what you are doing and go and wash your face and bow to your Creator and make dua in the form of Surat Al Fatiha and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you. So that 5 minutes that you are praying, you need to think about the akhirah and realign yourself. Only one fard is daily. Only one fard is daily. 5 times a day we are supposed to stop and think about the akhirah. But we do our salah on autopilot, still thinking about the house, still thinking about the car, still thinking about the holiday, still thinking about the boat, still thinking about the Rolex, even in sujood. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم والبر الكريم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, forgive me if I have depressed you, but it's for a good cause, wallahi. Us measuring ourselves and checking ourselves and realigning ourselves, often it's not pleasant because we realize how much we are lacking. But guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you time to do something about it. In the very next verse, after the verse that I just mentioned, in the very next verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, here is the recipe, here is the answer to your anxiety that I have just created in you, here is the comfort for you. He says, سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها كعرض السماء والأرض أعدت للذين آمنوا بالله ورسله ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. Here is the answer. Now, after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught you and I about this dunya and what it is and how temporary and short-lived and hollow and empty it is. Wallahi, it's empty. Open up your phone, open up Instagram and TikTok and tell me the world is not empty. Look at the genocide happening in Palestine that people are still debating, is it a genocide or is it not a genocide after 1 year? Tell me the world is not empty. Wallahi, the world is empty. There is no joy for you here. But it's okay that there's no joy here because you're going to be here such a short time. We're just here to work for the akhirah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, after He made you feel a little bit down about the dunya, He tells you the good news. Sabiqu. Sabiqu means race. Doesn't mean walk. Doesn't mean run. It means race. Compete. Fly. Go as fast as you can. 100% effort. Race. Race like the Olympics. You know those Olympians, they train 4 years to go and run 100 meters. Race like it's the Olympics. سابقوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم. Race towards forgiveness from your Lord. وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا كَعَرْضِ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And race so that you can enter the gardens that are as wide as the heavens and the earth. This land, how much is a piece of land to buy in Greenacre? Wallahi, even the worst house in Greenacre is going to be $1 million just because the land. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that Jannah is as wide as the heavens and the earth. As wide as the heavens and the earth is a garden that you're going to be living there. There's no shortage of space. Forget 1,000 square meters, 2,000 square meters. Forget this. You're going to have acres on acres. Acres upon acres upon acres. Do you know that the poorest person in Jannah, the poorest, the guy who just scraped in, and he didn't actually just scrape in, he spent some time in Jahannam first because he was a really terrible Muslim. He spent some time in Jahannam first and then he made it to Jannah. He will have, that guy who is the worst Muslim who ever lived, he will have space, real estate, 10 times the planet Earth that's his. He's the worst one and he will have 10 times the planet Earth. That's his own kingdom, his own dominion. And we are killing ourselves to buy 1,000 square meters in Greenacre or Punchbowl. Yeah, brother, I'm telling you, you're going to have minimum 10 times the planet Earth that's yours. It's yours. And you will know your house in Jannah better than you know your house in the dunya. You will know the way to get there, and you will know every square inch of land on your land. You will know your house. You will know every room in that house. You will know it because you were made for it and it was made for you. But you were never meant to stay here. You're just hanging out here like a bus stop. How much would you care if you were at a bus stop and the bus stop was not that comfortable? How much would you care? Or the bus stop was not that clean? Or the bus stop was in the sun? It doesn't really matter. You're going to be there 10, 15, 20 minutes and you're going to be gone. It's not worth getting upset about. The poorest person in Jannah is going to have 10 times the planet Earth. And we are killing ourselves, running after the rizq of this dunya. Do you know, let me give you even more comfort. I said I would give you comfort. I'll give you an extra measure of comfort. I don't want you to leave here feeling bad. I want you to leave here feeling good. Do you know that your rizq is already fixed, is already decided before you were born? The amount of money that you're going to get in your life, it's decided, it's set. All the videos that you watch online, they tell you that if you hustle and if you think like an entrepreneur, you will just do amazing things. You will have the Ferrari, you will have the Lamborghini. May Allah give you all the Lamborghinis, all the Ferraris, but that number that you're going to get is not changing. That number is fixed. It's a fixed number. Maybe Allah has given you a high number, maybe Allah has given you a low number, but it's fixed. That means you can stop stressing about it. True or not? If it's fixed, that means you can stop stressing about it. Umar al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu, he used to say, my heart is at ease knowing that what is meant for me is coming to me, even if it's buried underneath 2 mountains. If it's mine, if it's written for me, it's coming to me. Nobody can stop it. If it's buried underneath 2 mountains, it's going to climb out of the ground and it's going to find me and it's going to jump in my pocket because it's written for me. I'll give you the briefest of stories to illustrate, and an extra reason to be honest in your trade, brothers. Prophet Muhammad was as-sadiqul ameen. Never ripped anyone off. Not 1 cent. There was a man, one of the companions. He went into a new city and he had his horse. And he had to run some errands. So he saw a young boy, maybe 10, 12 years old. He said, listen, why don't you watch my horse? Hold my horse and keep my horse here. I got a few things to do and then I'll come back. The boy said, okay, sure. I'll take care of your horse. And he gave him the horse and he left. He came back. The boy was not there. The horse was not there. He's looking around. He can't find the boy. He can't find the horse. The horse is expensive back then. Not everyone could afford a horse. So he went to the marketplace and he saw from a distance the boy is trying to sell the horse. And so he waited. He watched. Some time goes by. The boy is haggling with different people. He ends up selling the horse for 10 dinar, 10 coins. He sold the horse. The companion, he smiled. He said, Subhanallah, I was going to give him 10 dinar for watching the horse. I was planning to give him 10 dinar at the end of all this. But he went and sold the horse. So he stole the horse. He went and sold the horse. He got 10 dinar. From me, he would have had 10 dinar, that's halal. But from him, he got 10 dinar, that's haram. But the number, the amount is fixed. 10 dinar, 10 dinar. He got the 10 dinar, he got the 10 dinar. Your money that you're going to get is written. Some prophets and messengers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them very poor. Some prophets and messengers were kings. They were very rich. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had set the number. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he came into the house of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He saw him sleeping on a straw mat, made of straw, not very comfortable. And he saw that the straw had left lines in the skin of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Umar ibn Khattab, he looked around the house. There was nothing in the house. He looked around to see what food did the messenger have, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He found a leather bag hanging. This leather bag was how they used to store their butter. They used to put butter in this leather sack and they used to hang it up. Umar ibn Khattab, he looks inside, the leather bag is empty. Umar ibn Khattab is looking down at Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He's looking down at him. He sees the lines in his skin and he starts to cry. Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, he wakes up. He says, Umar, why are you crying? He says, Ya Rasulullah, you are living like this. And there are kings and emperors in the world sitting on thrones. And you are the best of the human race. And you're sleeping here like this. There is not even a morsel of food in your house. And Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, he smiled at him and he said, Ya Umar, isn't it enough that they have been given the dunya and we have been given the akhirah? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear brothers in Islam,